So what is the solution to all this affordable housing crisis issues that we have here in America? And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to be giving you guys the solution. What's up guys, Daniel here, and in this video I'm going to be giving you guys my solution for the affordable housing crisis, specifically outlining the cost of the rising single family house and also rents that have been going higher and higher and higher. Now this video is a sequel in response to a video I made a couple weeks ago on how the Biden presidency and their administration may change everything with the housing market. And that is absolutely true. In that video, I went over two giant propositions that the Biden administration has already proposed, and multiple times Joe Biden himself has verbalized that he will make these changes. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys two changes, what I would do to change those two things to absolutely fix the housing market crisis that we have here in America, and maybe even potentially stop a potential crash in 2021. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, for those of you guys that don't want to watch the video, because let's say hypothetically, you're watching this in the bathroom right now and you only have 10-15 minutes left to do your business. So I'm going to give you guys the 30-second short summary of what that video was about. Now, in that video, I outlined two big propositions that the Biden administration is making and what I believe would happen to the housing market if they were to happen, because again, they've proposed it. President Joe Biden himself has verbalized it multiple times. So let's go over this quick summary. The first one was extending the eviction moratorium. Now, it's no secret that they're planning on extending this moratorium to September 30th. Right now, it's set at March, the end of March. No secret that they're extending it to September 30th. I believe prolonging this moratorium will only increase the consequences. Well, Daniel, what are the consequences? Well, the consequences are that right now, 14 million Americans are currently behind on rent, with 12 out of those 14 million Americans being behind approximately $6,000 on rent, totaling out of those 14 million, a total of $70 billion that we as a nation are behind on back rent, guys. $70 billion. Even with the $25 billion rental assistance, extending that eviction moratorium will only continue and prolong Americans being behind on rent. My intuition is that that $70 billion may be upwards to 100, potentially even $125 billion if this thing gets extended to September 30th. And another thing is that currently 50% of all landlords do not have the cash or credit to financially survive if their tenants stop paying rent, meaning that they might be Carol Baskin. You never know. And in regards to the other 50%, I don't know how long they can hold on. I don't know how long their cash or credit is going to allow them to survive if the eviction moratorium gets extended another 8 months all the way to September 30th. Point number two that I made in Joe Biden's housing market prediction video, a $15,000 credit for first-time homebuyers. Now, here's my prediction on what would happen to the housing market if that were to happen. My prediction would be that it actually wouldn't help anyone at all because it wouldn't help the 2.15 million Americans who are currently in serious delinquency, which, by the way, means 90 days or more. It wouldn't help the 14 million Americans who are currently behind on rent. It doesn't help the landlords who currently don't have any financial help. And it wouldn't do anything to make the housing prices more affordable. If anything, it would do the opposite. It would increase the prices due to basic supply and demand, because imagine giving all your buyers an extra $15,000. It's only going to make the item's price increase even more. And well, it doesn't help the banking or the mortgage industry whatsoever, because I don't see how adding $15,000 as a credit to your first-time homebuyers helping their level of risk. And at the end of the day, we all know the banks care about one thing and one thing only: risk. Some may say that was short, some may say that was a lot longer than I should have taken, but irregardless, that summary is over. Let's go ahead and look at my solution. So what would I do? What would Daniel Kwok do differently in terms of those two major propositions that the Biden administration is putting out? What would I do differently to fix the affordable housing crisis in America? Well, here's what I would do. Instead of extending the eviction moratorium, I would incentivize, hear me out folks, I would incentivize Section 8 landlords with maintenance credit and also discounts on capital gains taxes. Now, here's my logic behind this. It pushes more landlords to house lower income families, giving them a better infrastructure, giving them a better school system, giving them a better neighborhood for their kids to play in, an overall better environment. It would increase the value of the properties in lower income and Section 8 neighborhoods because of the maintenance credit, allowing landlords to free up more cash to actually do work on the properties. It would also increase the value of properties in lower income and Section 8 neighborhoods because the maintenance credit would allow the cash flow to be higher. And well, what are landlords going to do with that higher cash flow? They'll have more money to make the units nicer for for the tenants due to the maintenance credit, and they would actually get rewarded financially because of the discount on capital gains taxes. Now, this is very important because there is an objection to this. They're going to say, well, Daniel, what if the landlord doesn't actually spend the money in terms of making the units look nicer and actually creating a better experience for their tenants? Well, this is where that second incentive comes in. If you want a group of people to do something, you have to incentivize them. There has to be a draw of some kind. So that's where that second financial incentive comes in, the discount on capital gains taxes. And for those of you guys that don't know what capital gains tax is, it's the tax you pay on capital gain. And in the real estate space, it applies a lot directly to properties that have gained value over time, right? We pay the tax in terms of a house that was worth $100,000 and 5 years later it's worth $150,000 and we sell it for $150,000. That $50,000 difference is what we pay capital gains tax on, which means what? Which means that the only way they get that financial incentive of the capital gains tax discount is if the property increases in value. Now, how does a property get increased in value? Well, you have to make it look nicer. You have to actually increase the value for the property to be worth more. So that's why that second capital gains tax is there. So again, proactive approach, not a reactive approach. And what I like about this as well is that it makes the landlords less reliant on government funding. There's no need for that $25 billion rental assistance if the landlords get the maintenance credit. It's a proactive approach and not a reactive approach like a lot of politicians do. They wait for something bad to happen and they do something in response in which they push even their own agenda at the time. Now, also what I like about this idea as well is that it does incentivize landlords to rent out to Section 8 tenants because guess what? I'm a Section 8 landlord too. I have tenants and units that are in the Section 8 program. And guys, let me speak from personal experience and a lot of landlords that I've talked to traveling and teaching real estate investing. Our biggest concern with Section 8 is not that it's guaranteed rent. We have no issues with that. But a lot of times it's that the maintenance costs from the tenants leaving the unit, it's going to be drastic. For example, the last tenant I had leave in one of my Section 8 units cost me $8,000 for me to do the renovations, for me to fix everything up and make it rent ready for the next unit. That's our biggest concern as Section 8 landlords, that our tenants are going to completely trash the place and it's going to end up costing us thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, guys, I understand. At the end of the day, I'm making an investment. This is what I signed up for, right? No risk, no reward. But at the end of the day, if you want to fix the affordable housing crisis in America, throw incentive at the actual producers. Don't kick your landlords to the wayside because, guys, I will tell you right now, there is a crowd. There is a section of landlords who will not do Section 8 for that exact reason because the risk is not worth the reward. So make our reward a little bit better and mitigate our risk a little bit more to actually help the tenants and help the people that we need everybody to help. Now let's move on to point number 2 in terms of what the Biden administration is proposing, what I would do to tweak it and offer my solution, which is the $15,000 credit to first-time homebuyers. Now, here's what I would do differently to offer you guys my solution. Instead of giving first-time homebuyers a $15,000 credit for the purchase of their first home, what I would offer is I would take that $15,000 credit and actually incentivize real estate developers and investors to create more new developed homes in areas of growth and also affordable housing crisis issues. Now, let's break this down for a second. Why? Why is it that the housing prices are so high right now? Why is it that everyone's struggling and first-time homebuyers are really hurting? Because for one, a house that's on the market isn't sticking around for too long, and unless they make an offer above the asking price, they're not going to get the home. Why are they struggling so much? Why is this happening? Well, the first and foremost answer is low inventory. And yes, I understand that there's low mortgage rates right now, that there's a pandemic happening, but let's be real, guys. The biggest culprit as to why the housing prices are so high right now is because of low inventory. Now, think about this. If you incentivize real estate developers and real estate investors to build more homes in these areas where first-time homebuyers really are struggling, what's going to happen to the price? It's going to go down. It's basic supply and demand. If you have more of the supply to meet the demand, the value of the supply does go down. It's basic common sense. Now, my hunch and my prediction is that this would actually save the first-time homebuyer more than $15,000 because, well, guess what? The more the supply, the price drops. And what my prediction is that price drop is going to be significantly more than $15,000, as history will tell you. Now, what does this do? Aside from lowering prices due to basic supply and demand, it also produces more jobs and it also increases the tax revenue for the areas of growth and affordable housing crisis issues. Because guess what? When you have an area with growth and affordable housing crisis issues, chances are you need a better infrastructure. You need better roads, you need more schools because there's more people moving in. And well, I'm assuming those people are making babies because as far as I'm concerned, Marvin Gaye's music is still around, right? So those people need more schools. They need more infrastructure. They need more things within the community. So they need more tax revenue. Think about this for an example. Imagine if a developer went in and they developed 100 houses, just 100, which by the way, guys, is small. So let's use a mid-sized state in terms of taxes. Let's say that $300,000 home is going to give you about $5,000 in tax revenue, as opposed to my home state of Illinois or states like California or New York, where our property taxes are asinine, ASA 10, ASA 11 high. Whereas states like Florida and Tennessee, well, they may have a little bit of a lower property tax. So let's say $5,000. So a developer comes in, 100 houses, $5,000 tax revenue per year per house. You're talking about $500,000. Imagine what a school system could do with an extra $500,000 every single year. Imagine the changes and the impact it can make to our students. So overall, not only does it produce more jobs, it also creates better tax revenue for the local government. But what it also does is it creates a win for the first-time homebuyer, again, because you're lowering the price and you're using free market tactics as opposed to having the government force something in the worst way possible. It's also a win for the mortgage companies and the banking industries because guess what? Having a lower purchase price decreases the risk of the person borrowing. It's a lot less risky to borrow $100,000 than it is to borrow $150,000. And that's what you're doing using these free market tactics and incentivizing real estate developers and also real estate investors. Now, you guys might be saying, well, Daniel, isn't this Reaganomics? Isn't this top-down economics? Hasn't that been proved to fail? Well, first and foremost, it hasn't necessarily been proven to fail. It's not Reaganomics. It's not top-down economics. It's left to right. It's not up-down. It's side to side, because you're using, again, free market tactics to incentivize certain groups and create win-win scenarios, as opposed to Reaganomics, where you're giving a win only to the people on the top and expecting them to do the good thing, quote unquote, which again, we have seen has not happened a lot in the last 10, 15, 30, 40, 50, a billion years, ever since mankind has been around. We humans tend to be, at the end of the day, pretty selfish with what we do and how we act and how we even think. What's in it for me, right? A lot of times is how we think. Because guess what? It's not incentivizing for the wealthy at all. Because if you're a real estate developer and you're building more upon the supply and you're making the cost of the single family house go down, how does that help you as a real estate developer? You're literally cutting down your margins. You're making less money as a real estate investor because you yourself are oversaturating the market and allowing the price to go down to help the first-time homebuyer, to help the local government, and to help the community. Now, at this point, you might be asking, well, Daniel, why would any real estate developer, if that's the case, do this? Why would any real estate investor do this? Because, well, guess what? As a developer, as somebody who flipped properties and developed projects before, I, at the end of the day, know that with a credit, with government incentive for me to build something in an area needed for growth, I may be making less money at the end of the day, but at least I know because of that incentive, I'm guaranteed a certain paycheck at the end of the day. I'm guaranteed to at least make some money as opposed to the risk of losing money. Because guess what? Every development project or fix and flip that I've done, I'll be very honest with you, I haven't been profitable in every single one of them, and nobody has either. I've never met a single fix and flipper or a developer who hasn't lost money on at least one project in their entire career. And for those of you guys saying, oh, Daniel, I've never lost money. Well, guess what? You haven't been working long enough, right? Give it another 5, 10 years. Those projects will come because at the end of the day, we humans, we make mistakes. So at the end of the day, I will hands down ask myself, ask any real estate developer or investor, hey, would you take less money, but you're more of a guarantee to mitigate your risk? 100% of the time, we will say yes, right? Absolutely, I'll take that 10 out of 10. Because at the end of the day, my job for myself and my passive investors is to lower the level of risk in each investment. That is goal number one. It's not to make as much money as possible. It's to keep and protect as much money as possible. And here's the best part, guys. Here's the part that I haven't mentioned yet that is the best part, for me at least, in this video, is that it lowers the cost of rent as well. Because remember, for those individuals that are not able to enter the single family house market of home ownership, guess where they go? They rent. Because what else are they gonna do, right? They're gonna go into the Class A apartment complex market. They're gonna go into the townhouse market. They're gonna enter the single family housing rental market. They're gonna rent because they can't afford to buy a home because homes are so expensive right now. So if you actually incentivize real estate developers and real estate investors to build more homes, to add on to supply, to increase the low inventory, It's going to lower the cost of housing. Those individuals who are renting right now will enter the housing market because it's easier to get into the housing market. And that's going to create more availability and more freedom in the rental market as well, giving the renters more of the upside in terms of options that they're able to choose. And therefore, the landlords will be forced to decrease their rent because the buyer demand is not as high because the inventory has gone up. It's using basic supply and demand to not only lower the cost of housing, but also to lower the cost of rent. So guys, thanks for sticking it out to the end of the video. If you guys have any questions, comments, please comment down below and also like this video. It helps push this idea, push this video out to as many people as we possibly can. And guys, it's my opinion that this is what we need right now. There's too many people right now talking about over and over again the problems. There's not enough people talking about the solutions. And that's what we need right now. So guys, I ask of you, please share this video. Please like and subscribe so that this video can be watched to as many people as it possibly can, because I want people tearing my solution apart. I want us to talk about the solution as opposed to YouTubers constantly making videos about the problem and how it's doom and gloom. Let's stick to the positive note, guys. So again, subscribe, like this video, share this video amongst your friends, and I'll see you guys in the next one.